Ready. Good morning. This is the Environmental Resource Committee. It's November 17th, and I would like to call the meeting to order. If we could stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first item is the draft agenda. Are there any amendments to the draft?
But did you want to add this to the agenda?
Well, I have 3 items. Okay.
Sorry about that.
First item is the America Recycling Day. The next item is the National Recycling Strategy. And the third item is the nature-based stormwater strategy.
No, Mr. Chairman, I think the America Recycling Day was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Talk about it.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Are there any other amendments? Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda with the additions?
Mr. Chair, if I may, are we moving these to new business 1, 2, and 3?
That would be.
Yes, I would say so.
Okay.
I'll move the agenda be adopted with the aforementioned additions stated by the chair.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded that?
Yes, sir.
And you are.
Rich back.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Our newest member. We have guests today. Are there any public comments on the agenda? We'd welcome our guests.
Take it.
That's the information packet that's available from the website. Next item, our regular secretary Candace is out of town today on a medical issue with her family, and Don Eggert is stepping up to be the acting secretary.
Interim, temporary.
The next item are the meeting minutes from our October 20th meeting. Are there any amendments that anyone would like made? If not, could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Don, do you approve?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was very vague.
All right. Our next item, our old business, is the update on the Resilience Community Program and Hazard Mitigation. Chad, would you do that, or would you want me to?
It's up to you.
Why don't you do it?
Okay. And you fill in the blanks? You want to fill in the blanks?
Sure.
All right. So earlier this month, the RCCP met in conjunction with the Planning Board and approved the vision and goal statements for the RCCP grant, and also looked at the raw data on the survey as that was presented to them as well. The biggest update is now that Moffitt Nickel, our contractor, has all the information from the community and also from the open house forum as well. They are taking that information, gathering it, and working on the draft risk vulnerability assessment. That should be presented to the planning board, or RCCP, community action team, between now and January. So I will have updates on that when we're ready to go. I expect to speak with Don York, who is with Moffett Nickel, after this meeting this morning, and get an update on where they're at with that and where the timeline kind of looks at when that will be presented to the community action team.
I would add to that, our next meeting is December 2nd,
To be determined.
to be determined. Okay. This week, I received a email from the the North Carolina Coastal Federation, announcing that the state now has a plan for coastal resilience. And this is available through the Coastal Federation website. And it's an excellent article talking about the coastal resilience program and where the state is going in this area. I would also add that what Sunset Beach is doing in this area is really leading edge amongst all the other communities along the Brunswick County coastline. And it'll not only benefit Sunset Beach, but it will benefit the neighboring communities. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but
John, did you email that to us?
no, I didn't. I did email a one level up from this, but I would suggest, in fact, if you want, I will send a link for this so that it's easy to find.
Mine keeps kicking off. Okay, that'd be good. I'd like to peruse it.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, one important part of the resilience plan is an item called the nature-based stormwater strategy, and that's why I'm going to talk about it later, because one of the vulnerabilities that we have to identify and resolve has to be done based on nature-based strategies. So, I think it's important that everybody learn about this and understand it. And I think this is something that needs to be part of our package of information that we want to put together to share with the HOAs and the POAs. Next item is the recycling subcommittee.
Okay, that was Ms. Sieben and me. We, just to give you kind of a little bit of background, we met twice. We did meet twice since the most recent committee meeting. The first meeting was to kind of get an idea of what we wanted to do and not try to maybe reinvent the wheel or do too much. The second meeting kind of drilled down a little bit to some specifics, of which are outlined in the memo that we sent to the full committee. And I will just go through this briefly. There are several items. Item one is but let me back up a little bit for the benefit of the audience. This committee agreed that one of the challenges we have is getting the word out to the community on recycling. Now, a lot of folks know a lot about recycling and recycle. A lot of folks have no clue. And a lot of folks kind of in between, we have found out. So what we thought we would try to do is try to meet with the HOAs at one of their soon meetings to have a presence there and give a presentation on what recycling is all about. That's a start. We the committee and Ms. Stevens and I figured out there's just no one easy way to do this. So we thought that might be a good thing. So what we agreed upon is that a presentation to the HOA, either the board or the full HOA members, would be no more than about 15 minutes, including the question and answer. And there's a typo in that first point there. Presentation not more than 15 minutes. I do my best editing after I hit the send button, but the presentation should not be too detailed. We should refrain from using acronyms, buzzwords, technical terms that most of the audience would not understand. And that's kind of easy to get sucked into that. I know. I'll use Chad as an example. When I was working as a planner, you want to use all these code words that people don't get. So try to refrain from that. We also wanted to, while we're there, talk about some of the things that this committee has initiated, specifically the rain garden and the recycling promotion initiative that have come out of this committee, that are mentioned actually in the mission statement that was given to this committee by the council back about 2 years ago or so. We thought it would be helpful, and we also thought we would prepare a pamphlet for distribution using a model of a pamphlet from Boulder, Colorado. Now, this is not Boulder, obviously, and the pamphlet would have to be tweaked and changed and take out the pictures of the mountains and reference to the University of Colorado and all that. But we would use that as a model to distribute to the attendees and so forth. We thought that we think that our work is not done. What the main reason that Candace and I wanted to present this today was to get feedback from the committee on what your initial thoughts are, or where you see us going. And one thing that Candace and I talked about was that I think came out of the last meeting was a PowerPoint presentation. And to be frank with you, we don't want to drag around a PowerPoint equipment. And secondly, they may not be set up with the screen and so forth to do that. So that was our thinking.
One thing, a suggestion, you could tape the PowerPoint on YouTube and have
Right.
and put it on YouTube, and then you could have a link on the Sunset Beach website.
Excellent. Good.
The reason I know that is I watch YouTube all the time. There's some interesting videos,
Well,
and then they have put training videos
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah, that's a
Interesting.
good idea.
That's a very good suggestion. In fact, yeah, I look at YouTube some, and interesting is a good word to describe some of that stuff. But that's and I will take this back to Candace. I'm assuming the committee, so this committee will want us to meet again to tweak some of these things and give it some thought. We've had a chance to sleep on it for a couple of weeks. I think we met about 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks now, to prepare this agenda, this memo that I dated on the 9th, which was last week. So we will take that and plug that in. Any thoughts from you, Chad, or anybody?
I do have a couple.
Okay, sure, go for it.
So why did you choose Boulder, Colorado?
Candace, she's a retired physician, so she likes to do research, and she poked around several different things. And that's what she came up with. There's actually a lot of stuff out there, probably too much, but that's what she picked.
I looked at it. And
Uh-huh.
I don't know if your presentation, this presentation, is only recycling, or if it's because the word reduce was, or reuse was not in that pamphlet.
Well,
Well, I'll talk about that.
Well, I guess a kind of a subset of that. I think I know where your head is. To reduce what's going into the landfill is one of the main reasons for recycling, because we're running out of landfill space. So that's a good point too. We did not specifically discuss that, but I'll take that back to her.
I don't know if this is purely recycling. for
Well,
your project.
Could I comment on that?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. I think if we go back to our primary responsibility given us by the council is one of education.
Mhm.
And recycling is a topic that we've spent a lot of time on in the last year.
Yeah.
And it's something we know a lot about, and we want to share that in the community. We've been given the go-ahead by town staff to contact the HOAs and POAs and other community groups and talk about this.
Yeah.
I would like to have us think about broadening this a little bit. Recycling and stormwater are the two major topics that we focused on in the last year. And particularly with this nature-based stormwater strategies coming out of the RCCP and the national recycling strategy that the EPA released this week. I think we need to kind of look at this
Yeah.
and figure out how we can pull out the major points there to share with people. And as Steve said,
Yeah.
put together some educational information that
Yeah.
people can look at
Right.
on YouTube or through the town website.
Yeah.
We can't make it too big or we'll never get anything done.
Well, yeah.
My thought too would be everybody that comes here is recycling where they live. I have several friends that bought places here. We recycle
Yeah.
where they came from. They don't recycle here, and I think it's sort of like getting over there's like a complacency. Like
Right.
I'm at the beach, I don't care,
Yeah.
And I think they should maybe figure out how to create. I don't want to say guilt, but create like, okay, we need to protect this place too, and step up. And I think a lot of people don't think about that. Like, oh, I don't want to pay for any recycling. And
I hear exactly what you're saying. When I lived in Charlotte, we recycled. Of course, the town paid for it, so it was free.
right.
Although not everybody participated, you had to call the town hall and get a blue thing out there.
Yeah.
And I know I've mentioned before that I had a neighbor that didn't recycle because it's too much trouble. So, and there's still some of that. But I would point, I've got a copy of one page of the Boulder brochure. It does say landfilling is not a sustainable planning approach. And it's not. The county landfill is essentially full. They're just dumping construction debris in there. The household stuff's being carted up to Sampson County. And that's expensive. So if we can reduce the amount of stuff going in there is part of the challenge. And I think I read somewhere that 80% of what's thrown into blue recycling containers is kept, and the other 20% is not recyclable item, like prescription bottles, for example, aren't recyclable, or shredded paper isn't recyclable. So Candace and I and this committee have used the word education till we about beat it to death. And I know people get tired of hearing that, but I can't think of I guess information providing maybe is a better word, but that's what it is. And get their attention. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I would add that at the Sunset Festival I was at the town booth and talked to a lot of the citizens about recycling. There were basically three types of people. There were people that signed up for the town program.
Mm-hmm.
There were people that took their recycling to the county drop-off
Right.
sites. Or there were people that really didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Or didn't want to do
Yeah.
anything. There were a lot of people complaining that they had to pay extra.
Yeah.
And I would explain to them that if it was mandatory, it would have to be added to the tax base, and the council was trying to keep the tax base to the minimum. They offered this program where you could sign up for it, and that was a good deal. it would be less to pay the $90 a year than to have it in your taxes for most people. So a couple people that I explained this to in terms of real numbers said, I didn't know that. So that's part of the message.
It is. It
We
is.
need to get out.
Well, it is. And, I think I've shared before that we live on Windfall and we don't subscribe to the town recycling, basically because I go by the 904 site a lot, or the one down in the county park a lot. So we take our stuff down there, one of those two. And when I've been taking stuff to the 904 site, it's a pretty busy site. And I gathered, I had about 25 or 30 of the little magnet things, and handed those out. I handed out every one of them in like 4 trips. And most of the people says, oh, yeah, thank you. Some said, oh, I've already got one. And 2 or 3 people from out of town, their second home here said, oh, we do this up home, blah, 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 blah. So that was a very interesting experience I had there. And I guess if I had another batch of those magnets, I'd hand those out too. But that was good. So
Okay, so we got more work to do,
we do.
and we've got to kind of shape the message
That's
that
right.
we want to give, and then we've got to reach out to the community. I think we need to have some kind of a package that we give them. If we just go in and talk about things, it's going to go in one
Right,
ear and
right.
out the other.
Well-
At least if somebody did that to me, that's
You're
how I would
right.
do it.
And I know I'm on the HOA board at Windfall, and we usually have, when we meet, 10 or 15 items, many minor things, but we don't need to come in there with a 30-minute presentation because it'll get, well, is this guy ever going to shut up?
Well, and more, I think the HOAs or POAs are doing virtual meetings.
Yeah,
And I know at Sea Trail, the recent community meeting was done virtually.
yeah.
So we've got to have tools that match the medium that they use.
Fortunately, we have a technology guy with us.
We haven't decided yet. Our annual meeting is in January, and we don't know what we're going to do just yet. So,
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, but I do appreciate your comments.
I have just one more thing.
Sure.
So we've all been to those meetings where everyone at the meeting is already, they're focused and they're aware of what's going on.
Uh-huh.
So I suspect most people at the meetings, HOA is different because especially if you do YouTube, people who are there will be already recycling. But the information about what not to recycle,
Yeah.
the trash or wish recycling, or to get them to recycle even more.
Yeah, that magnet and I don't have one with me now, has several things that you cannot recycle that people think you can. Like we've been throwing our prescription bottles in there
Right.
and shredded paper in there. I think there's some other common stuff,
Yeah.
certain kinds of plastics,
Right.
some styrofoam.
So I think that will be your focus
Yeah.
group, the people who will show up. They should be knowledgeable for
Sure.
basic knowledge, but just to advance and increase their participation.
That's a very good point. And I appreciate these thoughts. Miss Candace, actually her nickname is Candy. I call her Candy. She's very passionate about this, and I'll take these back to her, and we'll try to meet as soon as we can. I'm not sure when she's going to be back from Kentucky. She's up in the Lexington area.
Okay.
It would be good to understand too, of all the people that could pay for recycling. Like we've got 1,000 people, there's 300 that recycle. And we could focus our efforts on the 700 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that aren't. And I think we've talked about this before on our website. We should make it like maybe you have your YouTube video and then underneath it you have a link.
Yeah.
Pay now. They can click and pay. And that way we know who to target, who's not recycling.
Yeah, it's a challenge to get people to look at the town website. A lot of folks don't. I
Oh, I
don't look
know,
at it
I
that
know.
much. I guess that's a confession. But the folks back here, that's not in a POA that I'm aware of.
Right.
It's an older part of town.
Right.
So a lot of challenges. But we're, I hope we're going in the right direction.
Well,
Well,
I think we are going in the right direction. We just can't beat it to death. We've got to get something done.
Oh, yeah, well,
Now,
yeah,
part of our responsibility is to do research and to anticipate things that are coming up in the different environmental areas that affect the town. And I really think this national recycling strategy that the EPA published this week is just the start of more activity in this area, particularly in the state of North Carolina. The Secretary Regan of the EPA is from North Carolina, and I expect the DOE is going to pick up on some of this stuff, and the state legislature will too. I don't know what's going to happen from it, but this whole idea of a circular economy is above and beyond where North Carolina is today. And so it'll be interesting to monitor and track that and see what comes from it and to stay current with it.
yeah.
two other, I mean, I'll be quiet. The park, I don't know if we have any recycling signs in the park, but there's a lot of people that frequent the park, and I know there's a board there with information, and then I recycle my dog's waste there,
Yeah.
but anyway, I'm just saying that would be probably, I don't know if we put a sign or stickers or whatever up on
Well,
that, and the other area would be like, I mean, Food Lion gives away trillions of plastic bags, Publix in the grocery store, so a lot of people take those bags and just dump them in their garbage.
All right, don't start me in those bags. That's one of my all major things.
So
Now there is a recycling facility site out at on the beach there where you go straight across, and there's a parking area there and a gazebo.
right.
In fact, I took pictures of those, but we may want to have Miss Bozeman from the county recycling solid waste come back to. We met with her several weeks ago. She's very interested in this. She said she'd be happy to come back in a month or 2 or 3 to give another update, presentation, so forth.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea,
Yeah.
particularly as Brunswick County adjusts its recycling
Yeah.
according to this national
Yeah,
strategy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you might talk to her.
I
and see
will.
what her availability is.
And she's pretty much up to speed on a lot of things.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item is Tree City USA Subcommittee. We have an email report that Rich and Steve have. So if you guys can talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk to him first. I mean, essentially, we met and went over the purpose of it, and Rich has a lot more expertise in this because he's been involved with it in the past. But then we had suggested dates of the event in April. And
Just to kind of give a quick overview, and the town of Sunset Beach has applied for membership in Tree City USA, and that's in process, right? Or has that been accepted? In process.
Yeah, it's in the process.
Associated with that, it would be some kind of activity to celebrate Arbor Day in April, and not long after that, Earth Day. And Steve and Rich have agreed to come up with some ideas about what the town could do, and so they've put together the first results of their discussions.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we kind of highlighted. You can read the email. I won't read the whole thing of all the different things that we could do with that, and it's going to take a lot of proactive involvement from like different groups. So the thing is, I'm not quite sure how we proceed with the town as far as getting approval to say, is this something we want to do? Because it's going to involve like a location and then having people show up at the location.
Well, I think we need to put together a recommendation, and then
Yeah.
we can send it, we can work with Chad to put it into a format to send it to the council,
Okay.
but we just need to formulate a plan.
There's a town somewhere, and I can't think where it is now, that I go through fairly often. It has a Tree City USA sign on the highway going into it. Little, that's fairly small sign. White background, green lettering. I mean, it's good publicity. And I think that the county just made a big deal out of planting 100 trees in the county parks, which sounds like a lot of trees, but we've got a lot of parks, so I don't know what will come of that, but it sounded good.
Yeah, I saw that article. It's a Beacon, I think. I didn't read it. That was
Right.
the grocery store. But yeah, I'm not sure who sponsored that or the.
Well, there was a grant. They received a grant
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
that
what-
allowed
that's
them
what
to
it
do
takes,
that.
right?
When is Arbor Day?
It's April.
April something? Okay.
22nd.
Yeah.
So we would need to know what framework you'd have for us to send that in. Like, here's what we recommend.
Yeah. Well, it's a warm fuzzy thing.
But
Who
yeah,
does like?
yeah, that's true. It is, you know, if you have Sunset Vision doing their work over
Yeah.
here, you've got the little community group going
Yeah.
over here. But to consolidate and bring all of those groups together, you know, there's much more power,
Well, I know
much more authority, and many voices. So,
Chad
yeah,
mentioned when he was at Oak Island the challenge of preserving trees on a building lot, which is the same challenge when I was town planner over there years ago. Had the same issue. There's no room for trees because the lots are so small. If you build any decent sized house, you're going to eat up the trees with the impervious surface.
yeah,
Anyway.
I'm not sure how much property the city owns that is not development. If the park is beautiful the way it is, but it's time to get a
Oh, yeah.
larger, not a larger park, it's a beautiful park.
Yeah.
But if there are locations, if there are roadways, which I think is part of this state program, I mean, they've done it for 20 years or so, the roadways where you put the wildflowers in, the shrubs.
Yeah.
I was just through Pawleys Island a few weeks
Yeah.
ago. Between the highway, right in the median, there's a ditch, it's a couple miles long, and they made a 2 mile long rain garden out of it.
Cool.
So instead of capturing property that the city may want to sell, someone may want to do something with, you would use, I mean, that's huge, right? To capture that much water
Yeah.
from the roadway or a sidewalk before
Yeah.
it hits the town.
Well, of course, here in North Carolina, 904 and this road out here are state maintained roads. What you're talking about, you'd have to retrofit this into existing roads. Even landfall, they're town maintained roads. Of course, we're not big enough to have any kind of road. The street isn't big enough to have any kind of meeting,
Right.
but I like the point of it though.
But for the Earth Day, do you have more, Steve? I'm sorry.
No,
For the Earth Day and Arbor Day event, it's one of the things you need to do for Tree City USA, and it needs to happen annually, so it's
Yeah.
not a one-time event.
Yeah.
We would look for these sponsorships, either from, plant a tree for your grandchildren,
Yeah.
right? So you would, just like you do with the benches or the bricks. The plastic bags, turn in your plastic bags, and our local grocery store, Food Lion, would
Yeah.
replace it with, or they're $1 a piece, I'm not sure, a donation. Food Line you would replace 2 bags per family,
Well,
reusable bags. There's several things you can do. Boy Scout project, Girl Scout projects. A friend of mine's a Girl Scout leader, and she said, do not assume Girl Scouts cannot use a drill and a saw, right? So just because they're girls doesn't mean
I thought they sold cookies. That's what
yeah, exactly. That's their reputation.
Well,
I guess. But she said their girls can do anything boys can do.
Sure,
Boy
and-
Scouts.
It just irritates me to see somebody come out of a grocery store with 10 or 15 plastic bags. You know they're going to toss them.
Yeah. You try to lead by example, but apparently that isn't working.
Now Miss Bozeman does have little permanent reusable grocery bags that I got 3 or 4 from her a while back, and she may have a bunch of those she could bring down. I don't know if she's got thousands,
Okay.
probably not even hundreds, but then they're made out of recycled plastic stuff too. So
Yeah.
Yeah, this,
Yeah, so I think I think it's a worthwhile project that
Yeah.
enough, again, you said it's a touchy-feely type thing,
Yeah.
a fuzzy worm. So if Food Lion can get their name onto a project
Sure.
like that where they're handing out
Yeah,
at a very minimal cost to them.
yeah,
So, but I think if our next step is to create, with our information, create it and present it to this board, or
Yeah.
send it to you and then you'd send it to council, how does it?
why don't you present it to the committee
Okay.
for review and more discussion, and then
Okay.
we'll present something to,
So can we do that online, or does that have to be, do we meet in December?
yes.
This board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rich, why don't we look at scheduling that for January meeting? And that
Right.
way
Okay.
I can reach out to you
Well,
and
I certainly
Steve
get back.
and
Congratulations.
absolutely and go there.
My point is, if the event is April, we meet
Right.
in January, get approval back in February, gives
Yeah.
us 2 months to
yeah.
recruit a lot.
And
I think we can do it. If that's a time frame we have, I think.
Yeah, what we
can
can do is if we were to present it at the January meeting here, we can make a recommendation to take it to council and get their blessing on it because they meet twice a month.
Okay, right.
So, or at worst, the first February meeting, and go from there.
I would suspect that if we could approach one of the banks here in town or one of the restaurants and Food Lion to have them sponsor and get their name on the bag or whatever would be a good deal.
Yeah,
So
'cause
I've
that would give you all of February, all of March,
Right.
and then into majority of April.
Okay, so
One last thing. I've done a lot of asking for sponsorships, and people always go to the biggest stores in the neighborhood who get hit. And even with the Elks, you cannot go to the same golf course
Yeah.
every 3 months ask for another donation. So yeah, there are probably gardening groups,
Oh, yeah.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving groups, if that's still around.
Sea
Those kind of
trails.
groups.
Yeah.
okay,
We'll do
so
that. We'll submit that to you.
we'll put that on the agenda
For January.
Okay. New business. Okay, the first item I added was America Recycling Day. That occurred this past week. I kind of felt like we missed that, guys.
We did.
It's been around 20 years and I've never heard of it. So
Yeah.
I neither. You know, and I subscribe to a daily email on what all the days of what that day is, and I didn't know about it either till it popped up about a week ago.
information is king, right?
It initially crossed my screen with the proclamation from the White House for the day, and the announcement that the National Recycling Strategy was going to be released that day. And then the EPA came out with their National Recycling Strategy. And what I saw this morning was a very comprehensive plan built around the idea of a circular economy, which is one of recycling, minimizing the creation of waste material and designing with materials that can be reused and then reusing it. So I think there's a lot more that's going to be coming at us on this thing, and it's incumbent on us to be knowledgeable about this. So I would ask everybody to spend some time learning about this.
Interesting. I was in Portland, Oregon several years ago. Portland is an interesting city in many ways, but it's a very green city. They had recycling containers everywhere downtown. I mean, everywhere down in the airports and so forth, where you put your bottles and so forth there. I was really impressed. It's Portland motto is "Keep it weird." It's
So I covered the day and the strategy, and then the next item is the nature-based stormwater strategy. And again, I mentioned that this is an important part of the resiliency program that town's involved in. But I've given everyone a copy of this printout that I got from the internet this morning. And this will be attached to the meeting minutes. But it's just a quick overview of what nature-based stormwater strategies are and what they do. Primarily, it's rain gardens, and in the case of Sunset Beach, it includes the I just had a senior moment. Includes the work that's done in the waterway on erosion control, the living shoreline. And I read something this week where I believe it's Oak Island is embarking on a program to put in about a half a mile of living shorelines along their waterway shores. They learned a lot of lessons the hard way with the damage they suffered with the ECA system. So this is more than just rain gardens, and this is an important thing that we have to be knowledgeable about.
Which
And
may
there is
eventually lead to another HOA presentation.
well, maybe it warrants two different ones, one for recycling
Exactly.
and one for nature-based stormwater strategies. But there's a huge document on the internet about this that I suggest you review.
One,
Well, what?
the one thing too that I see on here, roadways, you know, I know I mentioned this before, and we're growing like crazy, and I noticed like every time I come down here now, there's more and more traffic, and I think it'd be great when they do the roadways to put in more bike lanes and then maybe paths for trails between neighborhoods like greenways and things like that, because it reduces, people driving.
It does,
And-
and again, it's
Yeah,
part of
I
that.
know we don't do that, but I'm just saying, that's something.
Well, the town can encourage that when they review site plans for subdivisions and what have you.
Yeah.
Part of the challenge is retrofitting this, and the town does have a bike lane out here that I'll put a commercial in for myself. I helped the town prepare that plan way back when I worked for the Council of Governors. And of course, there's some challenges getting across the bridge with the bike lanes, but DOT does look at the potential for bike lanes in certain road developments. And there's the East Coast Greenway does go through the county. Much of it is on existing roads, although there's a long-range plan by the county to get off-road too, but it's a slow process.
I saw there was a survey that came out too, like about a month ago from the state, and for everybody
Right,
to say, what do you think about bike paths and
right,
lanes?
right.
I'm just saying environmentally, like I living in Florida, you can't get out of your subdivision without get steamrolled by cars. There's nowhere
I
to
know.
bike, nowhere to ride,
Yeah.
and I just see like we're kind of still developing here. Right?
Well, the county actually has a roadmap that would lead you to believe that exists.
Yeah, there's a Blueway Greenway roadmap that the county got a grant for that completed a few years ago. And I'll touch base on what you were talking about is that the town has officially submitted a grant for a corridor study from 17 all the way down to Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that the last submittal into prioritization for STIP with NCDOT was a multi-use bike path in Sunset Beach. Think about those locally when you compete against Charlotte, Raleigh, Winston-Salem, those areas, they don't score well. They don't even score well locally, so it's tough to get funds from the state. And, unofficially, the state is getting ready to look at all their fully funded projects and really only keep the ones that are either ongoing or ones that need to happen. They're really looking at their prioritization with that right now, especially being hit with the pandemic. So moving forward with DOT projects, you're looking at probably 3 to 6 years out. Even on the Super Street interchange that's going to change in 904 and 17 is almost 3 to 6 years out from being completed. So it's kind of where we're at, and then another 2 to 3 years away from the town going back into the prioritization process with DOT, because I think DOT is recuperating some of their money. It's just finding and spending it in smart ways. So I think they're trying to look at all that. So that's the other issue with that. So unless the town was to take the project, they could and do it 100% at the town's cost. That's one of the things, and I know there's grant money out there, so we'll just have to. But those things are thought about. Is just trying to get help with the funding of it.
In other words, too much project, not enough money.
Pretty much.
That's
Yeah, well, there should be, I mean, a connection between here, Calabash, Charlotte, where you can like ride a bike,
Yeah.
walk, you know.
well.
And I know that we can't. I'm just curious about it.
I see a lot of bicyclists on Ozurtown Road, and even 904. I think those are brave people, but usually they have a yellow vest and or the flashing light and helmet.
Yeah, well, because we'll focus on low budget solutions.
Yeah.
Okay. There any questions or comments about the recycling day or the recycling strategy or stormwater, nature-based stormwater? I think we need to, again, we need to become more knowledgeable and then bring more ideas back to future meetings. Okay. I guess the last item would be any staff comments.
The only one I have is that I have created boxes for all of us, for all you, for the ERC. I email you your agenda and agenda packets roughly the weekend. You'll have them at least the weekend before going into the meeting. So if you need a paper copy, you can always come by town hall, pick it up, and stop by if you have any questions. Come see me. So I'll show you where those are before you leave. They're on your way out, and I will be better prepared and have agendas printed out for the public as well. So
We rarely get attendees. I was kind of surprised in a good way.
Yeah.
so
Okay.
Mr. Chair, that's all I had.
All right. Our next item is to open the floor for public comment. Anyone would like to say anything? Talk about anything you've heard today? Not? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion we adjourn this meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Our adjourn.